If you're a senior person who hasn't been in the job market for a long time and you're a little bit scared about who you were and who you're becoming, the first thing that I would say is take it down a notch. Don't be so afraid and don't feel like you have to defend why you're there. Like, do you belong in the interview? Is it okay for you to be applying? Is this job really for you? Most senior people walk into an interview if they haven't been there for a long time, and the first thing they do is they get super defensive and they start giving a recitation of everywhere they've been and everything they've done. Just remember that you got invited to the interview because they saw something in your resume that said, this person could belong in our organization. Today, we are talking about job interviews, hot seat questions, how to answer them, and how to bring your best self forward in an interview, even if you haven't done one for a really long time. Hi, my name is Laura Gassner Otting, and I am an author, a speaker, and a career expert. If you want to change your career, if you want to amp up your career, if you want to create more impact in your career, you got to like and subscribe to this channel. Okay, let's get into it. So I once had an interview where literally the guy looked at the resume while I was sitting there, and he did this. He goes, well, let's see, you went to University of Texas, so that's not an Ivy League school, so that's probably worth a little bit less. But you worked in the White House, so that's pretty impressive. That's worth a little bit more. And he literally read my resume as I was sitting there and sized me up out loud to my face. It was the most uncomfortable, disconcerting, and sort of identity shifting moment I've ever had in a career search. Most of the people that you talk to in an interview have not read your resume before you walk in the room. And if they have read the resume, they don't know how to read a resume. So what they do is they sit down and they go, oh, so tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself is the easiest question to answer because it's the one you know you're gonna get. So if you know you're gonna get it, it's the only question you know for sure you're gonna get. Maybe you also know you're gonna get a like, tell me about your weaknesses, right? But you're always gonna get a like, so tell me about yourself. The other version of that is walk me through your resume. So either one of those is this super open-ended question where most people just verbal vomit, like it is just blather, 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 and it goes nowhere. This is your opportunity to frame the entire experience. This is your opportunity to talk about who you are, why this organization. It's your chance to show off that you've done some homework, that you're not just insert job application here, but you actually care about this position in this organization, and here's why. And then you can just put together a little trail of breadcrumbs through your career of what you've done so that they know where to go with their questions. You're basically saying, pay attention to this. This is the bright, shiny stuff. Don't worry about the stuff over here, because this is the stuff I really want you to ask me about. This is your opportunity to help them help you show up as your best version of yourself. And the other question that you know you're gonna get is, tell me about a time you failed, or tell me about your weaknesses, or what don't you do well, right? It's some version of the like, tell me where, what's wrong with you. And the worst way you can possibly answer that question is in this fake, kind of like self-depreciating, well, sometimes I work too hard. Like, that's nonsense, right? Like, that's ridiculous. I know you're lying, you know you're lying, it doesn't get us anywhere. So I want you to answer the question in a better way, in a way that actually shows that you understand yourself, that you're self-aware, and that you're actually growth-minded. So answer the question something like this. Well, sometimes I tend to get ahead of myself and I forget to check in with others to make sure they're on board with the project. But what I'm doing to handle that in the future is that I now make sure that before I go forward, I remind myself to go back and check in with all of who the important stakeholders might be before I go ahead and I press send. Something like that that says, here's a real thing I've had in the past. Here's what I'm doing with it in the future. So if you can point to something that you've done wrong, something where you've made a mistake, something that was a colossal failure, totally fine. As long as you're saying, I can turn the lens back on myself and know that it was me, and I'm now moving forward. The worst way you can handle that is either in a kind of nonsense, like it's not really a real problem, or saying something like, well, in the past, when something's gone wrong, it was his fault or their fault or the resource's fault or some other like pointing fingers problem. Show me that you can turn the lens on yourself. Show me that you've learned. Show me that you know how to correct it in the future. And then what'll happen is when I do your reference checks, I might say, hey, they told me about a time when this thing didn't go right. And then I'm gonna hear the same story from the people with whom you worked, and I'm gonna say, they know themselves, they figured it out, they're moving forward. I now don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm gonna bring them on board. Okay, so how do you answer the question, why do you want to work here? If you have done the research for an organization, you've seen that they are entering a new market, or they're putting out a new piece of research, or they're interested in, some sort of new idea or innovation. Maybe they're serving a community that you care about. Maybe their leader inspires you. Maybe you want to learn some new skills. There's something about the organization. There's something about this position, and just be honest about it. I mean, maybe the answer isn't because I want to make a whole bunch of money. Or though, if it's an organization where that's what people are incentivized to do, then they're gonna love it if you're a gunner. You have to figure out what the organization cares about and where they're going, and then be honest, because if what you really wanna do is make a whole bunch of money and you're applying to an organization that doesn't really give a lot of money as incentive, it's the wrong place for you, and it's better for you to know at first. But if why you really wanna work there is because there's certain skills that you wanna gain, there's an impact that you wanna make, you're inspired by the leader, that then creates a really rich and dynamic conversation that will help you connect to the person across the table, because it might actually be the reason they want to work there. By the way, pro tip, before you go for the interview, figure out who's going to be interviewing you. They're probably going to tell you a list of people. Do some homework about those people. There's so much information in the world today about the people who are on the other side of the table, and if you don't do your homework and you show up not knowing anything about them, shame on you. Bottom line, shame on you. It is so easy. You literally have a supercomputer in your pocket as you're walking into the room. If you're coming up the elevator, if you haven't done it yet, Google them, look them up, figure out where they've spoken at an event, listen to a podcast they've been on, read an article they wrote. If you're sitting across the table from me and I ask you why you want to work here and you say, well, it's like what you wrote in that article in Harvard Business Review, I'm going to be like, oh, they love me. And everybody's favorite topic of conversation is themselves. So if you can bring it back to something that that person talked about, or something that that person did, or somewhere where they showed up, they're going to think, this person thinks I'm awesome. And you know what I think about people who think I'm awesome? I think they're awesome. So it allows you to become the star if you think somebody else is the star. And again, it's all right there. It's all on your cell phone. Become a stalker in the best kind of way. That's the secret. Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty basic ways to do it. The first thing is limit your caffeine intake in the morning, right? If you're somebody who gets nervous, if you're someone who gets a little agitated, maybe have like a half calf and not a full caffeinated coffee in the morning. The second thing is be nice to the receptionist. When I was in recruiting, when I would walk somebody out after an interview, I'd be like, great, it was great to meet you. And then I'd turn to my receptionist and I was like, was it great to meet them? So if you're mean to the receptionist, I'm gonna hear about it. But if you're nice to the receptionist is gonna be nice to you back. And if that person's nice to you, that will also ease your tension. Third thing, go to the bathroom ahead of time. You have no idea if the interview is gonna take a half hour or 3 hours. True story, I worked for a man who interviewed people for 3 hours straight, mostly because he wanted to see how they handled the pressure of their bladder and whether or not they were going to ask for permission to go to the bathroom or not. He just wanted to see how they handled difficult situations. And then lastly, remember, you're there for a reason. They've looked at a bunch of resumes. They've read a whole bunch of cover letters. They invited you to come in and interview, which means they saw something in your resume. They saw something in your cover letter that said, this person could be a good fit. So remember, you are there because they think that you're going to do well. Nobody's invited you in to hope that you're going to fail. They've invited you in to hope that you're going to succeed. So let them help you succeed. If you like this video and you found it helpful, don't forget to like it, to share it, and to subscribe to my channel. And by the way, tell me in the comments, what are your challenges when it comes to hiring? What are your challenges when it comes to finding top-tier talent? And what are your challenges when it comes to your own career? I'd love to know so we can solve it in a future video.